the microscopic level, solid silicate rock has been converted into pure, highly reflective glass, a process known as vitrification. Contrary to theories of a global cataclysm, the physical data shows this phenomenon is restricted to isolated locations. These sites appear as specific nodes within a broader planetary grid. We find the first category of this evidence in architectural site seals. On this ridge in Scotland, the stone of ancient hill forts has been fused together directly along structural lines. This architectural signature extends to the Andes. In these massive polygonal walls, the individual blocks are joined with zero mortar, forming a bond so tight the crystalline structure is effectively continuous. The second category of evidence moves into the desert. This is Libyan desert glass, a pristine greenish-yellow silica found resting in pure sheets across the sand. Identical sheets of regional silica are located thousands of miles away in the Atacama Desert. Achieving this glass transition requires temperatures between 1100 and 2000 degrees Celsius. While mainstream models attribute this to lightning or timber fires, the physical forensics at these sites reveal a massive thermodynamic contradiction. We can test the combustion model by looking at the requirements for a timber fire at a site like Tapo Noth. To melt silicate rock in an open-air environment, a fire requires a massive concentrated fuel source. This process inevitably leaves behind heavy carbon residues, charcoal, and soot. Site data contradicts this. We find deep, uniform glassification with an absolute absence of charcoal or soot. The fuel was never present. Lightning also fails the geometry. It creates narrow, erratic fulgurites, not the continuous, uniform vitrified bands integrated across meters of masonry. The meteoritic impact theory requires a visible crater, shock cones, and meteoritic debris. However, scans of the Libyan and Atacama fields show no impact depression. These are flat sheets of pure glass with zero cratering or associated meteoritic inclusions. Because combustion and impacts fail to match the forensic data, the energy delivery mechanism must be non-thermal. The model that accounts for every physical anomaly at these sites is resonant induction. This mechanism begins with the specific stones used at these sites. They are consistently high Q factor materials, like quartzite and quartz-rich granite, characterized by a highly ordered atomic lattice. In crystallography, this rigid lattice structure allows the material to sustain acoustic and electromagnetic standing waves. It acts as a resonant substrate rather than a passive object. When a frequency beam targets this matrix, energy is absorbed as harmonic stress, inducing a standing wave. The silicon dioxide's atomic bonds vibrate, entraining to the pulse. This resonance pushes the lattice to its glass transition point, softening the stone into a plastic state. This specific engineering protocol is known as piezoelectric welding. Once the frequency is withdrawn, the lattice locks back into a solid. The result is a unified amorphous glass structure. The presence of vitrified stone proves that matter can undergo extreme phase transitions through harmonic standing waves, bypassing the thermodynamic requirements of combustible fuel. Scaling this atomic model up explains how these civilizations executed landscape-level architectural engineering. At Sacsayhuaman, the massive andesite blocks meet with tolerances that cannot be achieved with percussion tools. Patterned resonance was applied to soften the blocks at the interface. They were pressed into place, and the resonance was then closed, locking the blocks into a seamless, mortarless bond. We find a defensive application of this technology at the Scottish hill forts. Here, directed frequencies were used to seal the architectural node. By inducing vitrification in the outer stone layers, builders created an impenetrable glass barrier across the perimeter. This engineering model accounts for the pinpoint geography of these sites. These were not random fires, but deliberate, localized applications of frequency. These megalithic joints and vitrified forts remain as the physical signatures of high-amplitude field engineering. Beyond architectural nodes, resonant induction also provides the framework for understanding the vast desert silica fields. The purity of Libyan desert glass indicates a macroscopic resonant event. The glass contains no terrestrial or meteoritic debris, which would be present in any kinetic impact. These pure silica fields occur where grid harmonic surges or large-scale engineering events have modulated the ground itself. The same physical law is recorded in the Atacama sheets. While the hill forts were localized structural seals, The desert glass represents the same technology applied to the planetary grid at a landscape scale. These isolated fields provide the forensic record that the fundamental frequencies of matter were once manipulated on a regional level. The audit is clear. Conventional thermodynamics, timber fires, and lightning cannot account for the physical evidence at these sites. Resonant induction and lattice modulation satisfy every forensic requirement of the site data. This framework relies entirely on established laws of wave mechanics and crystallography. The investigation now moves to the next phase, identifying the specific frequency bands and resonant technologies utilized to generate these standing waves. Ancient vitrification exists as a forensic record of resonant induction, evidence of an engineering protocol capable of modulating the phase states of solid matter. Deep beneath the Sacsayhuaman complex, a solitary field operator traverses a network of subterranean basalt and andesite passages to conduct an active site audit. The logistics of this construction challenge conventional physics. We are looking at multi-angled polygonal blocks weighing over 200 tons, integrated into a single structure. The joints between these stones are micro-thin. Despite their massive weight and complex angles, the faces meet with zero clearance along a mirror-polished mating surface. There is no mortar or filler in these seams. Crucially, the stone shows no evidence of mechanical abrasion, no flake scars, and no percussion marks. Analysis of these interfaces reveals crystalline lattice continuity across the blocks. Because the natural boundaries have healed at the atomic level, we are forced to conclude the material was temporarily made plastic and molecularly fused. The sheer precision of these intersections invalidates standard quarrying theories. These structures suggest a transition from physical labor to field engineering, where builders modulated the stone's lattice itself to achieve a perfect fit. Mainstream archaeology maintains that these walls were built using copper tools, stone pounders, and wet sand. That model fails at the microscopic level. Mechanical force leaves a jagged, fractured surface, but these joints exhibit a smooth, phase-transitioned lattice. High magnification audits show adjacent crystalline structures actually interlock, creating a continuous atomic alignment bridging the two masses. This evidence is often mislabeled or omitted by institutions to preserve a linear timeline of progress. When confronted with clear signs of stone vitrification, the consensus explanation often defaults to impossible accidents, like localized campfire damage. Clinging to these primitive explanations makes it impossible to recognize the true nature of the technology used here: non-thermal field fusion. Moving from the interior joints to the exterior ramparts, the investigation reveals a different type of anomaly on the outer faces of the megaliths. Select areas of these gray walls exhibit banded vitrification. The stone has been converted into a glassy, fused surface. Standard theories suggest these sections were melted by accidental lightning strikes or high-intensity wood fires during ancient sieges. Wood fires cannot generate the 1100 to 2000 degree temperatures required for uniform stone fusion, and they would leave significant soot residue. Instead, we see directed energy that forced the silicate lattice to its glass transition point instantly. This vitrified layer creates a non-conductive phase barrier. By altering the surface conductivity of the stone, the builders established a scenario seal, a quarantine protocol that isolates the internal energetic field. This seal is an intentional security measure deployed at epochal boundaries, ensuring the data within the site is shielded from unauthorized interference or accidental erasure. This seal was achieved through a mechanism called harmonic softening. By applying patterned sound and electromagnetic resonance, the builders temporarily made the stone plastic. This allowed them to reshape the material without the use of heat. As the resonance field was deactivated, the stones instantly resolidified, permanently locking the atomic structure and the site's internal data into a stable state. The melt layers contain distinct motifs, such as spirals, zigzags, and hexagonal tiles. These shapes are not artistic. They perfectly align with the underlying resonant frequencies of the stone. These geometric patterns function as physical encodings of grid harmonics. They record the precise spatial and energetic addresses required to interact with the site. The exterior of Sacsayhuaman acts as a frequency-dependent gate. Accessing the interior requires matching these mathematical codes with a resonant input of equal amplitude. Returning to the deepest subterranean layers, the operator enters the interface vaults, massive 80-meter-cube chambers devoid of any burial goods or signs of habitation. These chambers were never intended for royal burials, grain storage, or military defense. Their scale and geometry serve a purely functional purpose. These vaults are vertical memory tubes. They operate as massive geometric memory capacitors designed to store and stabilize planetary data. These capacitors hold encoded scenario packets and planetary blueprints, the records of preceding world orders and global trauma events. The scenario seal was applied to protect this specific archive, preventing the loss of vital planetary memory during cataclysmic transitions. The stones of Sacsayhuaman are the hardware for this archive. They represent a dormant, living record of human history that has survived since the High Builder period. Physical force alone cannot unlock this data. Any attempt to enter these vaults through mechanical destruction triggers a masking protocol, causing the energetic information to scatter or lock down. Lawful access requires an operator to perfectly match the harmonic frequency encoded into the scenario seal. When the resonance is matched, the rock lattice phase shifts. The stone ripples like water, allowing streams of encoded data to emit directly from the surface. This extraction is known as the memory rescue continuum. It is the deliberate process of downloading time-locked scenario packets into our current epoch. This is an active protocol. Operators worldwide are currently executing these harmonic handoffs as the planetary grid enters a new phase. Field Lawful archaeology restores the living record of Earth. Every extracted packet reintegrates our planetary history and unlocks the blueprints required for the next cycle.